Windows registration contains information about hardware, including plug-and-play devices, user information and preferences, application, and network configuration. Examining Windows registry is one of the most important steps for Windows forensic analysis. In this video, we will use Access Data's Registry Viewer to look into 3 registry hives: SAM, System, and NTUser.dat. We will learn how to get important evidence from registry files. I encourage you to try by yourself. We talk about 5 registry hive files. So currently, I'm using a registry viewer. Now, even though this is Access Data's product, they provide a demo version, demo mode. So I currently say I do not have a dongle for the license. So I said I will use a demo version. So no dongle found. The dongle means it's the license key. And then I'm using the demo version of Registry Viewer. By the way, this is one of my favorite tool to analyze registry hives. It is so easy to use. So I have some hive files here. I just need to dump into it. That's all. Just let me move here. So first, let's look into the SAM file. Now, the SAM hive file contains user account information and a logon password for all users and groups on the system. So what kind of information can we glean from the SAM file? Certainly user account information. So I show you here, and it's in domains. The reason I like this product because it automatically interprets a lot of hex data in human readable format. So if I look into account and user, there are a list of users here. So if I click each one, so first one, if you look at this pane here, this is the interpretation. Okay, this is the interpretation. Interpret from the other key and the values. Here are the key and the type and the value. So the key name is F, type is binary, and here is the hex value. If you go back to look at slides, and I talk about how do we interpret those values. Now the first one, it interprets here. So this is SID number is 500. Okay, and the username is administrator. So that's the mapping information we can find from here. Because if you look into Windows, usually systems are only give you the numbers, and the strings are for human, right? For user. So here you can tie that SID number. SID, this is actually RID, relative ID. SID number is a long number. This is the last 4 digits is a relative ID, mapped ID to a real username. If you look at another one, so this is a 501 as a guest. Those are all built-in accounts. And here is a first real user. It's not built in, and the SID number is 1001. The username is Mark. All right, so this is the first information we want to get out. And if you look at my lecture slides, I also tell you where is the name located in the key and the V. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you should see. Let me make it larger. You should see Mark here. Okay, that's the name here. And then if you want to, there's another piece of information is last logon information. So it tells you Mark last logon at this time. Okay, last password time change also stored here. But especially the last logon time is so important because I have so many accounts, and which account should I focus? I look at the incident time and I look at the people who logged on during that incident period of time. like for example, guest built in and never logged on, so I can ignore that account. And I can look at this account when is the last logon. So the last logon information is so important. Okay, where does the registry view get this information? And I talk about in the slides as well during the lecture. I said this information is in the F. If you look at start from the 9th byte number at the 9th place until 16th. So this is byte 9, 10, 11 until 16. And those are the time, actually, the timestamps. So if you right click, say show hex interpreter, it will show you here are the time. This is where this software got from, 44056. So this is interpret this hex code. By the way, you have to be really precisely to tell what are the bytes, because if I say I have made a mistake, was a one byte short. If you want, say I want to interpret, you wouldn't see anything because it's not meaningful for the hex interpreter to interpret that. So that's why you have to know exactly how many bytes and where is the position to interpret that. All right, so from here we know the mapping between the user and the RID, the SID number, and then the user name, and also very importantly the last logon time. So registry view very nicely to interpret the key and the value information in this pane. That's why I really like this tool. So this is the same, and even though it includes other information, but I leave the other stuff up to you to explore. And then let's move on to the next file. Let's look into SAM. We have looked at the SAM file. Let's look at the system file. So you just dump into that, and they say, are you sure you want to close the original file, SAM? Yeah, I say yes. Okay, now, so we see the system file now. So what does the system registry hive contains? So system registry hive stores the computer name, device drivers, system configuration and setup information, including the time zone information and other. So let's look into a couple of features from this system hive file. Now, if you look at this list, and then first thing you need to, so in this case, I only have a control set 1, but most cases you will see control set 1, control set 2. There's a multiple different control settings. I don't know which one the system is in use right now, because that's the one. If a system is in use in control set 1, we should look into control set 1. So this one you can first try is look into select. And it's told you first the current. In this case, certainly only one. It says current is 001. Sometimes by default is 002. Is the last. They also tell you the last known good one. Which version is that? Okay. So we find out. Okay, currently this is user control set 1 from this image. So now if I analyze system hive, and I need to analyze control set 001. Okay, so if we look into that, what kind of information we can find. So getting into many other things, I only show you a couple of important things as an example. So into control, let me going down, and then you can see the computer's name. So here again, computer name is a string type, and this is the computer name. Okay, and then what other information we can find? Again, there are a lot, but I'm just pick up some interesting information to look into that. All right, time zone information. This is very important. I emphasized in the lecture that when we analyze a case, the first thing we need to set up our forensics machine to be the same time zone as the suspect's image, the image we created, right? Because we have to have a consistent timeline. Otherwise, those times are obscured, and then the evidence is not interpreted right. So in here, we're looking to the time zone. This is Eastern Standard Time. So in that sense, and then first thing when we create a case, actually when you later practice those GUI-based advanced forensics analysis tools, the first step, you cannot even skip. It was a select the time zone. So here is the information. How do you get, so how do I know this image, what time zone that image was set, right? So you can find from here. Okay. Now the other information, for example, let me see, mounted devices. That's also very important. Those are the devices that you mounted, but so that means you can identify information, and also even mounted on which drive, which ladder, okay, A or D. So you know this image when they're taken, actually those are the previously mounted network mount or other mounted devices. So that's also very important piece. And then another thing I want to talk about that is USB plugins. So let's say we from this current image we cannot find crucial evidence to support. So you're wondering, maybe some information is missing. Okay, maybe I did not even find that information. And USB, okay, USB is portable, and then the suspect can plug into the machine, doing something only on the USB, and then remove the USB. That's it. Does not leave evidence onto the system. All right. So now, nice enough, Registry recorded the information of what type of USB it was plugged in and at what time. So this information reside in, if you go into a new and a USB store. So in this case, I have two USBs here, just plugged into that. So currently, certainly that you don't have the USB plug into it. So if I look at the first one, okay, so it tells you what type of USB. So this is that type of friendly name, the type of, it recognized type of USB. And if we look at the second one, so this is a SanDisk Cruiser Brace USB device. So it tells you what type of USB device it was plugged in. Now the timeline, interestingly, you can find out under property. Now I did not talk about that in detail. I just said you can find, since Windows 8, you can find out plug-in information, the last insertion and the last removal, but I not talk about detail in the lecture because I have to show demo. So if you look into the property, and then you look for property number 066 and 67, you can look through other stuff. It's not there, right? So it's always in the 66 and the 67. If we look at 66, certainly the access registry view already interpreted that for you. There's a talk about, there's a hex value. This hex value, it is time. It is a time. You can highlight and interpret that. Okay, it's a time. So this time is the last time this USB plug into the machine. Last time. And then 0067 is the last time this USB unplugged it from the machine. Now those two information, if that information line up with the incident time you are investigating, you can request. All right, you certainly should request for this USB because there's insertion time and a deletion time. And you can even identify, because you can even identify the unique ID of this USB, and I will not go through this detail, but at least 66 and 67, that's the last time this is inserted. This is the last time this USB remove it. And I think some locations 64, 65 basically talk about is this the first time this USB plugged in or not, but it looks like this is the first time and the last time is same. So this USB is only plugged into once. All right, so this information is a crucial information to analyze for each one if this is images from Windows 8 and later. Okay, in early version of Windows, they do have the plug-in information but do not record the time. Like in this first USB, you can also find there's a 66 and a 67. Okay, so this one is plugged in, when this is removed. So okay, that's very important information. So then I will stop here, and then let's look at the next one. So basically, I just want you to show you some key component, and then you can play by yourself for fun. So here is I recorded the marks ntuser.dat. Now, what is the ntuser.dat? That one, if you believe Mark is the one logged into that based on the information, and then you want to look into Mark's ntuser.dat, because this ntuser.dat is specifically for Mark, that stores Mark's specific information, such as what file he has recently run or saved, and which URL he has typed, and all sorts of that information is very richly stored in this registry file. Now, another feature I want to show you is find. The find feature, there are lots of features to go explore by yourself, but there's a find feature, because unless you know what is the key name and then which path to go, right? Because in the previous case, it's not deeply embedded. That's why I'm going through the route and then going down. But for example, I want to find out the key value is typed URLs. And since ntuser.dat is such a busy Hive file and contains so much information, I don't want to go through each tree, right, to find. Again, the reference file I give you from Access Data, they do give you the tree path. So if you like, you can follow the tree. But here I just want to show you that another feature. It's a find feature, is very useful. So you want to search this. Actually, this is a key, but here I say I want to search this key value and the data, or I want to search all those things. But actually, this is key. Even though you just leave that on, no problem. If you spelled right, okay, you have to spell right, and it will able to find. So it's fine. Look at how deep into the tree, right? So you can find this typed URL. What is that? This is the URL you visited. Not you, the image, the person, and in this case is Mark. Mark visit. URL 1, that's the most recent one. The URL 2 is the next one, the previous than URL 1. So those are the URLs. And sometimes if the URLs requires a password to get into that, you also have this information installed in registry, but certainly you have to decrypt the password. Okay. Now, what are the times this URL is visited? And nicely, registry view already interpreted that for you. So this is the last. This is for the URL, and when is the time. So if you look into URL 1, that's the time accessed to URL 1, and this is URL 2. So here is the typed URLs, and here is the typed URL times. There are lots of more information. Another one is recent doc. Say I want to show you, but it crashed in this demo version, so I am just not able to. I do have a licensed version. I want to try over there whenever I get a chance, but for this demo version, it crashed. I want to show you is the recent doc. Recently, what files you accessed, okay, and then it categorized to numbers. Each number is a folder, and that folder is separate to different time extensions, like .doc is in one place, .text is in one place, and then list all the .docs in one folder, and with most recently run in front. So it's interesting to see. But again, I'm not able to show you in this registry view. How do you practice by yourself when to use registry to learn registry files? You can export those registry files from FTK Imager. Okay, if you have a Windows running, and then you just use view the image and then export those registry hives. You can find that in the drive and then export. Once you export, and then definitely you can use this Access Data Registry Viewer. Unfortunately, they are not supported in Access Data website anymore. So I don't have a very secure locations for you to download, but if you search Registry View demo version or free version, and you still can download. And I will show you the MD5 and SHA-1, so make sure once you download, and then make sure the MD5 or SHA-1 matches, then you still can use that. So in here I did only use the demo version. Oh, I see why it's crashed. Now I got it, because the demo version only supports for fewer number, like 5,000 files or less. And then when I click into the recent doc, it has too many. Yeah, more than 5. The image has passed that limit. That's why it's crashed. Yeah. But you can also try other tools. For example, one is called Registry Explorer by Eric Zimmerman. Now those are free tools, so I'm very hesitant to tell you to use it or not. It's on your own risk. Once again, I really don't know about those free tools whether they have something installed, or whether will harmful you or not. So I cannot guarantee those things, but they are free tools there. If you look at the Helix CD under incident response, actually they also have a registry viewer that allowed you to view the current registry keys and values. So there are a couple of free ones to use, but once again, the Access Data's Registry Viewer is my favorite, because it's not only look into the keys values. For lots of other tools, it just lets you to look at the key and the values and interpret. You have to interpret. Okay. By the way, if you do not have Access that data registry view, how do you interpret hex data to ASCII? There's one free program called Decode, D-C-O-D-E. Decode. That one, once you input a hex, and it will interpret if this is a timestamp or if this is the other information. It will interpret that for you. So that's also for free. All right, so I think I will stop here, and I just only touched a little bit, but hopefully that this examination demonstration will lead you to explore more for registry files. And I cannot emphasize more for the importance of the registry, because sometimes 70 or 80% of evidence are gleaned from registry files. That's no surprise, because Windows put everything into registry. All right, so that's it, and then hopefully you'll enjoy it.